how long do you think it took him to work on this thing?
I I asked, but I want to know the real answer because he wrote it in a day.
Welcome to the show, Katie Presto. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
So we're gonna break down The Artifice Girl, written and directed by Franklin Rich. We're gonna do a little film analysis. And what's cool is that you actually got to interview him at South by Southwest.
Yes, I did. He was a very nice guy, very different from his character. Yeah. And one of the cool things we talked about is because there is a lot of seemingly technical things talked about in the film, is he's more of a philosopher than a computer guy. So everybody always asks him if, he's like really into computers and AI and technology. And he's like, no, I'm more into philosophy, which makes sense because it is more of a philosophical film. Like there's technology involved, but the questions are really based around ethics and morality.
Well, I'm gonna hit you with the logline here so people know, but right now we can find The Artifice Girl available on Amazon Prime. So a team of special agents discovers a revolutionary new computer program to bait and trap online predators. After teaming up with the program's troubled developer, they soon find that the AI is rapidly advancing beyond its original purpose. So what I think is really cool about the film is that it covers essentially almost an entire lifespan of the main character who's developing the software, right? So Franklin Rich also stars as the computer programmer, and he plays a younger version of himself, which I thought was really cool. At first, I didn't even realize it was the same guy.
Yeah.
And then he plays a more adult version, and then Lance Henriksen plays him basically at the end of his life, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was a good get, especially because the kind of role that he played in Aliens, he was an android. So it's kind of
Hmm.
interesting to kind of be in the same lines with the whole AI thing.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. So what were your kind of first thoughts when you were sitting down watching this? Because there is a lot of like powerful dialogue moments where philosophically you could talk about, AI and creating a digital character. Does it have a soul? Does an actor want to be created as a digital character after they passed away? Like he brought up a lot of great
Oh yeah.
commentary there.
Yeah. So I first saw it at South by Southwest. So there I was very honed in. I'm in a theater. It's a different viewing experience than it is if you're trying to watch it at home and you've got distractions. So seeing it in a theater was huge for me because I really paid attention to the things that he was saying, and it was it was stuff that stuck with me after the film was over that I got to talk about with people, the person Malcolm who saw it with me, and just kind of like analyze like you did in the olden days, like what does this mean? What does that mean? What do you think about
Yeah.
that? So
Yeah.
the points that he brought up were very good. I don't know if we're doing spoilers or not, but
We'll do spoilers.
okay. So the parts that he brought up about the like how she comes up with information based on her prime objective, and the use of salmon in that example I thought was kind of cool, and how he was explaining, or she was explaining that my goal is to continue this prime objective, which means keeping you alive, which means giving you the healthiest option. There's like every little detail that you could think of. You could just see that the writer was thinking, people are going to ask me about this, people are going to ask me about this, and he thought about every angle and tried to explain it in the film, which I
I
thought
think
was
you're absolutely right. It was a very thoughtful approach to the dialogue and to the plot. Um, and it's engaging because it's not a big movie. Like it's just a few sets. but it feels like a big movie because I think they're dealing with such heavy topics that are right now in everybody's mind, from, people working at the checkout and cashier, which are being replaced by robots and self-checkout, to writers in the Actors Guild. I mean, it's AI is on everybody's mind right now. So it's very timely that he came up with this and did the research and asked a lot of thoughtful questions. Even when he talks about how in Star Wars his character um, was hired by Lucasfilm to create a version of an actor who was actually really dead, right? And how that led into him eventually snowballing into creating his own AI program, which I thought was really genius, because the question that the agent asked him is, how do you know that the actor wanted to be in another movie after he died, right?
Yeah, and right now I'm reading about actors who have gotten taken off set to, do these shoots for these renderings. And they said it's pretty standard, but this time something was different, and they were asking them to do poses and, a lot of weird things. And you have these contracts that are a million miles long that you don't read and you just sign, or sometimes they don't even ask new permissions for it. It's getting a little bit crazy. So you're kind of signing away your living, in a sense, because your acting ability, your face, that is your livelihood, and you're signing it away to be used for no pay.
It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Um, I did like the subplot that we get of the actual face of the AI. So I thought it was meaningful because most of the film they're discussing, oh, it's randomly generated, it's randomly generated. He keeps saying that, but people keep staring at the face and it keeps grabbing them. And it's like, it looks too lifelike. Why does she have a little tinge of green in one eye? And things like that. And he keeps putting it off because he's trying to, not deal with the past because he's been so traumatized, which I thought was great, adding in the subplot of him being a traumatized child held captive,
Yes.
right? And what is he doing to the AI? It's a
Yeah.
traumatized child that's held captive. So I think, again, working in that subplot, so thoughtful, really, really smart filmmaking.
I agree. And they were talking too about the emotions that Cherry had. And at one point they said, at the base of it, it's really just zeros and ones. But if you think about it, the base of our emotions are really just electrical impulses and chemicals. So to say that it's not possible for them to feel the things that we also feel is maybe giving a disservice to AI and like what they're capable of in the future.
Can you hang out for a minute? I have to pause this.
Yeah.
So we've written something together, and the process can be pretty intense. I mean, I did my draft, you did your draft, and we brought our draft together.
Yeah.
How long do you think it took him to work on this thing?
I asked, but I want to know the real answer, because he wrote it in a day, he said, but I know the background work had to have been months probably. And I know he took a class. He said he took a class to kind of get down like the right terminology for all of the technical stuff. And it was like probably one of those boot camp type courses.
Yeah.
But I have no idea how long the background work took. But he said he wrote it in a day.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible he wrote it in a day, but like you said, the research he had to put in was probably
Yeah.
months and months, where this thing
Oh
was
yeah.
brewing in
It
his
was
mind.
probably, yeah, every day, every night you go to sleep, you're probably thinking about it, and it was
Yeah,
forming.
that's crazy. What do you think your favorite part of the Artifice Girl was?
Um, I actually really, so I really enjoyed the dance that she did. that Cherry did. I
Yeah.
thought it was a really good emotional ending to a very complicated story. And it kind of it showed a lot of different things. She sort of was free, but also wasn't free. You know, it
Yeah.
was just like that dichotomy. And I was curious what you thought about what the ending meant with the skipping of the record, because we had debate about this.
Oh yeah. So I think the skipping of the record is the revelation that, you know, the future is not going to be the same, because she has a bit of humanity in her and she has humanity's flaws, which she states, you know, luckily for you, you designed me to not to want to keep children safe, hence children safe. But that doesn't mean
Yes.
much about anybody else. You know, the kids will be safe. So I think that was just, it was a little bit of a possible hint that there may be a little bit of a darkness in her too, because of, you know, she was made by a
Yes,
flawed man.
exactly.
So I mean, that's my thoughts. What are your thoughts on it?
That's similar to what Malcolm said too. And you know, I agree with all of that. And I think too, a little bit, the skipping of the record makes me think of horror films when people get murdered and then
Yeah,
like there's like
the
the record
records goes. Yeah,
skipping. It's very ominous, and it's also kind of like her whole life is basically it's just it's never ending. It's on repeat. There's no
yeah.
finality to it.
My favorite scene was when they're asking her if she wants to have an autonomous body, and you know she doesn't want one because she's scared,
Yeah.
and they leave her alone, and she's left in the room alone on the monitor, and I love that because he just hangs on the young actor, and the young actor just kind of sits there in that moment like lost, and I thought, wow, that's is fantastic.
Yes.
Emotional moment coming from a AI robot.
Yes. And the other thing too that I liked is how they tied the beginning and the end together when Dina was talking about or talking to Siri, you know, am I doing the right thing? And
Yeah.
then the film, Gareth is asking Sherry, you know, did I do the right thing? And the cool thing at the beginning of that is I thought it kind of showed that, you know, when Siri couldn't really answer the question, that the ethics and morality with the use and the development of AI is kind of solely on our shoulders.
Hmm.
You know, it's our responsibility alone.
Yeah.
There's no, you know, computers can't tell us what's right and what's wrong. So, but then at the end of the film, um, Cherry basically tells him, you know, he was like, did I do the right thing? And she was like, no, no, you didn't. And it's like, if you have to ask that question, you could probably have a pretty good idea that you're not doing the right thing. There
Right.
might be good in your decisions, like she pointed out, but if you have to ask the question, it's probably not the right thing.
Well, if you have doubt about a decision, right? That's what you're saying.
That's
Like
what I'm saying. If you have doubt,
like I'm a parent. I never stopped and thought, did I make the right decision to have a child? Like I didn't think that. But
yeah,
that's what he's thinking. He created this entity. He's a father. He's a father
yeah,
figure. So he's doubting his creation, is doubting his motivation behind his creation. So the answer is yeah. You
yeah.
know, yeah, he probably should have paused for a second and thought about it. So yeah, I think that's good. I also really liked early on when they had uh the the subtext there of the torso, the robotic torso that's covered in like a cloth in the corner.
Yeah.
So there's always the thing of if you're going to show a gun, you better use the gun, right?
Mhm.
So we see the half robotic torso in the corner, so we're automatically peppering into the audience's imagination like she's going to have a body eventually. We're going to see this thing in action. We don't know what it's going to do. It's going to do interpretive dance, but we don't know what's going to happen after that, right? So we see it, but what I like that he wrote in there is that they say, you ever notice how it just sometimes tips over on its own? And I love that because they're hinting at the fact that she's going to break free from her programming just in a little line like that. It could just be because the thing is wobbly. But
Yeah.
just by putting in that line of, you ever notice how she just tips over on her own? Yeah, because she's trying to get away. I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
That's actually a really good catch. I wasn't thinking about that one. And the other thing that I liked was the representation of like the characters. So there's people in the world that are doers, there's people that are thinkers, and then there's kind of like the people in the middle that when presented with new information, they can change their mind, you know. And I felt like Amos was sort of the thinker. He was the one asking the questions,
Yeah.
should we, even though we can, should we?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
And then Dina was sort of, she seems like a doer, but she's kind of on both sides. You know, she started off that way, and then she sort of changes her mind when presented with new information. When Amos, you know, sort of poses this question to her, and she realizes that there's more to Cherry than you know originally thought. And then Gareth is just kind of like, he's going for it. He wants to keep moving forward, to keep the progress going.
Yeah, Gareth is definitely single-minded focused because he's working out of his trauma.
Yeah,
So he has to deal with that so that he doesn't have to worry about think about the past. I think Dina is very utilitarian in her motivation. This thing catches bad guys. I'm going to keep using this thing, right?
yeah,
And a testament to the growth of her character that eventually she realizes, oh my God, this thing might actually be a person, right?
yeah.
And then you're absolutely right. Amos is the soul of the story. So I totally agree with you on that.